Hi and welcome. The redundant array of independent disks or RAID is a storage virtualization technology which actually virtualizes multiple physical drives by combining these drives into one or more logical units. And then the data is spread across these logical units based upon RAID configurations. And these RAID configurations are known as RAID levels. Now the purpose of RAID is to increase performance and reliability in data operations. During the days of mainframe computers, we were using a concept of SLED or single large expensive disks. But then in 1987, researchers from University of California, Berkeley published a research paper stating that this SLED or single large expensive disk of mainframe computer can be beaten up by array of inexpensive disks. And they further argued that there could be a number of failures in proportion to the number of drives in the array, but this problem could be mitigated by arranging the drives in a redundant manner. Now we also use backup operations or backup mechanism to archive all the data from a system so that in case of a fault, the system should be able to recover this data from backup media. But then sometimes for the business reasons, we do not afford the recovery window which is required in backup operations. Therefore, we need to implement RAID to quickly recover our data. The configurations of RAID can vary and each configurations of drives in the array is known as RAID level. So there are around 0 to 6 RAID levels or RAID configuration of drives in the array, and each RAID level vary in reliability, performance and the cost. So there are three important operations which are considered or which are associated with the RAID levels, that is mirroring, stripping and parity, and a particular RAID level uses one or combination of these operations. For example, RAID 0 only use stripping and RAID 1 only uses mirroring, and other RAID levels use a combination of stripping and parity. And in mirroring, the purpose of mirroring is to introduce reliability in case of a fault. So actually you duplicate an entire disk to another drive, and the purpose is to introduce redundancy and reliability so that in case of a fault of a single drive, its data could be recoverable from other drive which is duplicated. So the write operations are very slow because you have to write a single piece of data on two different drives, but the read operations are faster because you are reading data from two different drives. Therefore, there is a 50% decrease in the storage space because 50% of the drives are utilized for duplication. So there is a cost associated with mirroring operation. In stripping, the main purpose of is to increase the performance of the data operation, and in stripping you actually strip away or distribute the instances of a single data source, single data on multiple drives, so that parallel read and write operations can be performed using multiple drives. So there is an increase in the performance, but there is no reliability or redundancy in the system because you are not duplicating the data of a drive, and in case of a fault of a single drive, its data is not recoverable. The purpose of parity is to detect error in the data, and it has second objective of reconstructing the data in some cases. So actually you introduce reliability into the system without duplication of the data, which was the case in the mirroring. So therefore there are reduced write operations because parity is only a single bit which is attached or appended at the end of the data for error detection of that data, and therefore storage requirements are very not that much as compared to the mirroring operation, and therefore there is a decreased cost in comparison to the mirroring. So actually it is a bit for error detection, and in some cases you can also construct the data in case of a failure of a drive So if this drive is using parity in combination with this stripping, so in case of a failure of that drive, you can reconstruct its data using its parity information, which are distributed or strip away on other drives, and also its other data which is stripped away on other drives. So these are 6 RAID levels or RAID configuration, actually 7 RAID configurations from 0 to 6. So you can see that in RAID 0 we are only using stripping, nothing else. So there is no fault tolerance, and even in case of a single failure. And in RAID 1 we are only using mirroring, and therefore you can tolerate the fault up to one drive, because you can get its data from other drive which is duplicated, and therefore there is a decrease of 50% of storage. And in RAID 2 it is actually bit level stripping, and it is using parity Hamming code for parity, and I am not certain about its fault tolerance, but it is more than one drive, I think. But this is very costly. This RAID 2 is very costly, and it is not used or viable, and it is actually using 14 to 39 drive disks and a dedicated hardware controller as well. And in RAID 3 you are using actually the combination of parity and the stripping. So you are using byte level stripping, and or stripping the information at byte level, and you are using a dedicated disk for parity. And here you can see that in RAID 3 we are using a dedicated drive for a parity. And then in RAID 4 it is similar to RAID 3, just the stripping is at block level. In RAID 3 the stripping was at byte level, and RAID 4 stripping is at block level, and in RAID 2 the stripping was at bit level. And in RAID 4 to 6 the stripping is again at block level, but in RAID 5 you are using a distributed parity, that you are not using a dedicated drive for the parity information, but you are stripping the or distributing the parity information across all drives. And here you can see that this DP is the parity bit of D data. So D data is on other drives, but its parity information is on other drive, so that in case of a fault of a single drive you can reconstruct its data using the parity information which is on the separate drive. So the parity information of each data is spread on different drives. For example, you can see in case of a C, the data is contained on other drives and its parity information is on this drive where there is no C data. And in RAID 6 you are actually using distributed parity, but this time it is double distributed parity, so that you can tolerate fault up to 2 drives. So here you can see that RAID 0 and 1 are not using any parity. No parity is used in RAID 0 and 1, and in all other RAID level parity is being used from 2 to 6. So this was all from my side. Please stay connected to my channel for similar videos. Thank you.